Phenotype February. It is February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. I am not wearing red because I am a fool. My wife is, and I'm sure she'll come on board and look pretty. But if you're not wearing red, shame on you. Is there a reason why? Oh, okay. All right. Moving on. So today we have to get to a state where we feel comfortable with the cohort definition that has already been built, and then extract that and start running cohort diagnostics. Today is the deadline that Anna has put for us. We need to get this done. And so I think we need to spend some time just to look at the work done and create a plan for maybe later today. Anna, I think what we need to do, and please, I'm reflecting with you here, is go to the progress tracker of the spreadsheet, grab all the core definitions at the end of the day, make sure it's named properly, extract the JSONs, make it available in an R environment such as Strata, and then allow the data partners to run it across their networks. I think we only have Johnson & Johnson for now as the data partner. And so by the end of the day, we need to have the specifications available for Johnson & Johnson to run it. Once it's run, then we have to deploy it on results.rdc.org so that others in the community can access the output. So any conversation today is to just figure out what will it take for all the investigators and their collaborators to get to that state where they feel they are ready, and Anna, I, and others can grab it from Atlas demo and create that code diagnostic script. Do you think that's correct, Anna?
Yep. Yeah, of course. Yeah, so we can go to the tracker and see what's going on for those who are on the call here. I know some of the details for those who are not. So you would click on the second tab, progress tracker. Absolutely.
All right, which study should we pick? Who's here? I see Chris is here.
Yeah, let's start with Chris. Sounds wonderful. Chris, do you want to walk us through how you feel so far?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. So we've been focusing mostly on the phenotypes for identifying the rheumatic disease patients, as well as the outcomes of interest. The medications, we have definitions, as you can see, and those are probably the easiest ones to actually do, with one or two exceptions like steroids, which are kind of complicated. But we still kind of have a lot of feelers out to get feedback on the phenotypes, kind of a content validity to various clinicians, like Matt Robinson's an infectious disease doctor, Brian Toy's an ophthalmologist, Liz Park specializes in rheumatoid arthritis. So we're trying to just get a little feedback on our current definitions and see if there are any modifications that they would like to make based on their kind of subject matter expertise. I've been interacting regarding the cancer outcomes. I've been interacting with Asia, who's been extremely helpful in guiding me. I think the malignancy is a much easier one to come up with than the site-specific cancer phenotypes. I have a meeting or two with some cancer epidemiology people to see if we can get better in terms of some of those site-specific cancer phenotypes in row 83. But there are some phenotypes that we probably can start to evaluate in cohort diagnostics as this next step. We just might not have 100% completion, admittedly, by end of day today.
So which ones are ready for cohort diagnostics? Those that have links. Also, if you could convert this rows like number 77, where you list the cohort IDs to the links, that would be very useful. But like which ones?
Anna?
Yeah, just like this.
Okay, yeah, that's easily done. We can do that. Oh, actually, while I'm on the call, if I may, Joel, quick question. If you responded to this already, I apologize. But for your lupus phenotype from your paper, are those in Atlas demo somewhere? If you're speaking, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Where did we put them? I know pretty sure I put links in the paper. It's been a while. And I would have pointed them to OHDSI Atlas.
All right, I'll double check.
Yeah, I think it might be in the RxNorm Phenotype library, Joel.
This one was not in Phenotype Library.
Yeah, I think this was before Phenotype Library. But I should have. I mean, if I was put a link to them, otherwise there's JSON files in there. I have one of those two available.
Okay.
Within the paper.
We will figure that out. Thank you. So that's kind of where we are at this point, Anna and Gowtham.
Yeah, so is other things you want to look at together or that you feel are ready to be run, or not yet?
We will designate them by end of day. We have a meeting as kind of a core team at 3 o'clock. So we'll hopefully try to close the loop before the weekend.
Okay.
Sounds good. The only reason why I'm asking is because early on we talked, myself and Brian talked about some of the cohorts which needed modification. So if you want to get feedback on or QAQC on your cohorts, that would be your forum for it. Like the uveitis phenotype required modification. So I assume that it would be useful to go through others too. But we don't have to do it, obviously, no.
Yeah, sorry. The last few days have been a little heavy clinically, and I haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I wanted to this project.
No worries. It's not for us to push you. It's for us to help you here if you need any help with anything. Okay.
Thank you.
I think we also have, who else? We have Michelle on the call too.
Yeah. So I have never made phenotypes before, and then the ones I'm trying to make just don't seem to match the ones I'm looking at for examples. So I'm trying to figure out how, well, first of all, big picture, looking at, vision screening rates over time, right? And so, and, we can look at all, and we kind of want to look at it by age group and then by type of vision screening and how those have changed, because I think we know that the data isn't good, but over time we think insurance is covering it more, so it might be actually improving. So probably maybe the most interesting thing to just look at it over time. So number one, does it mean then that would you do like a cohort like for each year, like let's say like 2018 and then 2009? I mean, how do you do that over time? And then also, it's a repeated thing, so it happens, it should happen yearly, especially for kids under 5. So I'm just not even sure how to structure that.
Yeah, I think there's two parts to this. You can definitely put a lot of these restrictions in your phenotype definition if your target requires that constraint. So if you basically say that my target cohort are children, then it makes sense to subset to that age range. But then if you are using stratification where you want to take children, but then divide them by strata, where you want to study the overall group and also by 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 8 years, that's a stratification. You can also think about stratification by calendar periods. And those can be shipped to the analytics side using the framework of cohort subsetting. So you can take a cohort and then you can subset it based on the strata specifications, and then you can
Mhm.
that allows you to take one cohort and burst them out into multiple cohorts, which allow, and then you can bring them all together as part of your summary
Right.
interpretation.
Okay.
So the reason I bring that up is just to differentiate between the task today, which is
Right.
what's the clinical idea versus the actual analysis. There is overlap, but we have to separate it and compartmentalize these so that we can make progress. Otherwise, we'll
Right.
all get confused.
Okay, that helps a lot. But then, I guess, and I don't know if this is just something that if someone can kind of work one-on-one with me, just as, I don't think it's a very complex one. I just am not sure um, how to define it. And I don't know if it's like, all children, all vision screening in this time range, like 2017 through 2024 or something like that. Or how do you, because you really do want to get all events, right?
Yeah, so we started talking about it. I cannot say that I fully understand the research question again. So can you elaborate when you say, I want to capture changes in how codes are used or how often people are getting screens? What exactly are you thinking about? Are you thinking about number of patients who got
Mm-hmm.
annual visits for more than a year, 2 years, or what kind of thing are you thinking?
Yeah, that would be like, and that's a good question. So, I have been conditioning, the cohort entry as, pediatric, having a well child visit, but I think I might have to actually do it broader outpatient visit because at least looking at the data that I have from OHSU, vision screening happens at more than just well child visits. Especially, I presume, especially for kids that aren't making it in for their well child visit. So, um, there's that. And then the other thing is, like, in order for this to make sense, we'd almost need to know a comparator, like how many children overall had these types of visits or had at least one immunization or something like that. Um, do you have any suggestions for that? Like how to actually put this in context as opposed to just comparing raw numbers over time? Or is that even worth doing?
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to get at a question, which is, so you want to characterize
Right.
vision screenings, right? And the knowledge gap is that we don't know how often kids are getting it, and
Right.
Yeah, so if you run this across a network of data sources, you will get some semblance of a range. That number is dependent on the data source itself, for
Right.
example. So some data sources, may have sensitivity errors, or some may not capture this information or whatever. But then when you run it across a network of data sources, you get some range, and that range can be summarized maybe with with the meta-analytic estimate that gives you a point estimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
With a range. So we can attempt that one. The other way of inference is to look for trends. Is the trend
Mm-hmm.
increasing or not directionally? And that can be the hypothesis that you're testing.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, I think what Anna is asking is like, can you frame this as a hypothesis testing that allows
Mm-hmm.
us to help you how to frame it as a research question that can test that hypothesis. But if you want to describe it, you get a number, right? In the
Mm-hmm.
data source, you get a number. What does that number mean? Is that high? Is that low? Well, that's in relation to a benchmark. Where is the
Right.
benchmark? There is no benchmark. You're just getting a number. And what
Right.
does 5% mean? Is that low or is it too high? Is it high? Um, and what does it mean if one data source says 5% versus 15%?
Right. Yeah. And that's where I need help because I haven't done this before. So trying to actually figure out, what's the most appropriate way to make this characterization, like to draw any sort of conclude, like the hypothesis is that it would be increasing, that we want to test is that it's increasing over time. But, how do we, like, it seems like you'd have to do it with respect to another benchmark, but unless I'm not thinking about it correctly.
Well, if it is a test, if your hypothesis is that screening is increasing over time,
Mhm.
then you can use it. You can create a statistical test for it where
Right.
it is almost like some form of a time series analysis where you have
Mhm.
equal periods of time with some estimate at that time and look for the trends of it. And even if visually the trend is up, then that suggests you that it is increasing. And statistically, you could probably test it by fitting some line on it and see if it is in the expected range. And if it's outside the expected range, then you have your statistical test. So you can frame it that way. But I think this is the by framing it as a hypothesis, you will help us more. So I think so. Right now, your hypothesis is that the screening test is increasing.
Mhm.
Do you have a change point in that hypothesis? Like, is there been a guideline that you want to see? Was there a guideline that was said, like in 2020, there was a guideline that released? Maybe the guideline impacted it. Then you can do a change point analysis.
Um, yeah. Um, that was quite a while ago. So, yeah, I have to look to see when that actually went in place. The the guideline went in place a while ago, I believe, like 10 or 15 years ago. But anecdotally, a lot of the pediatricians' offices, so the one we're really trying to pick up is this instrument-based screening that is used on kids who are too young to read a visual chart. And so, but a lot of pediatricians' offices haven't invested in them because insurance companies aren't reimbursing for it. But now insurance companies are starting to reimburse more. So it's a combination of both, but I'm not sure that there's, we can find that the change of the guideline, which happened sometime after 2010 to 2015, but I don't know if you're going to see like an inflection point, right? Um, but I will find that out.
Okay. But for your target cohort, then going back to the phenotyping part, it seems like you just need children who are indexed on a well visit with no prior screening.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also say this is the first well visit after a certain washout period. So if you build that definition, which is then what you're operationalize it, what you need is what is a well visit, and your entry event becomes well visit.
Right.
And your demographic restriction would be the age for children,
Mm-hmm.
and your
Yeah.
inclusion rule will be prior screening, with prior screening, without prior screening, and a washout period will be whatever you specify, 365 days usually.
Well, so how does that work for babies that are under 1?
I'm sorry, say that again. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
How does that work for children that are under 1 year old?
If it's under 1 year old, um, in most data sources, we don't capture days. So it becomes difficult in OMAP distributed network in the first place, because the fidelity of most data sources, because of privacy reasons, is calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
And so that in that case, you would just say first occurrence of well visit in a person who's equal to or less than 1 year.
Okay.
But that gets you people who are up to almost 2 years old, possibly. So it's not quite, you don't have that precision there. If you're looking for specifically those that are under 1 year, you can't quite get it without birth date.
Okay.
What we probably can work on together, because I think the specific definition, it will probably also depend on your specific research question. So what we could work on together for the moment, while you're figuring out the actual question, is the concept sets for well visits. This is something, if you have a placeholder for it, a place where you already started thinking about it, you can share that. If not, we can create something together, because regardless of what I think the research question, a specific cohort is going to be, still need well visits, and we can at least think of the concept sets together.
Yeah, let me see if I can, I have to find this. Because I haven't put it in the spreadsheet yet. I apologize, but I was working on it.
No worries.
But I can put it in the chat as soon as Atlas loads. But I did have, it's a simple concept set right now, but I don't think it's going to get me very much because I'm not sure that the well child visits are represented well. So I don't know.
You could just share the link, and then we will look. I'll look at it. Either right now or later on, and then I can share the thoughts with you.
Yeah, I'll put that in the tracker. All right. Okay. It's now.
I think Chen has a question.
Yeah, hi. So Anna, you had some comments about our osteoporosis cohort and some comment about the medication, the definition of the concept set, I guess.
Yeah, that was just the one that I looked at. Should we just go through it? Because there were things that piqued my interest and I wasn't sure how to interpret them. So I was just wondering if
maybe
you
it's wrong. Yeah.
would walk us through it. It's 27. Gowtham Rao, number 27. If you couldn't click on that, Atlas.
Yeah. Thank you. So basically, we have to identify a patient with osteoporosis. We have 3 events that could, identify the patients, right? One is the diagnosis. The other one is medications. And the third one is fragility fracture. And in this one, we would like to require at least 2 of these criteria. So
2 fragility fractures?
Yeah, the problem is that for a fracture to be for a fracture to be fragility fracture, you need it to be the issue is that ideally we would have the mechanism of injury, right? So if it's a traumatic injury, then it's not fragility fracture. And if it's an open fracture, then probably not fragility fracture. So we would like to make sure that so fragility fracture is actually defined based on the site of the fracture, the bones that got broken. So we would like to to identify a real fragility fracture, you would need the patient to be above the age of 50 and make sure it's not a traumatic injury. And to make sure it's not traumatic injury, we use two criteria. One is that it's not an open fracture, or it's not a traumatic injury. If there is a code that it's part of traumatic injury, then we would like to exclude it. The other one is that fragility. Well, traumatic injury could involve multiple fractures. So we would like to also exclude cases where there are fractures in more than say 3 sites. And that's
So this is what you would describe in your
exactly
inclusion criteria.
Yeah.
Are these ideas captured in your clinical description?
It is. Yeah, we have a short description in our channel, and it's described there.
Okay. So the way you would implement it, and I've not reviewed your clinical description, I'm just asking because, it just helps with you all as the study team aligning. But in terms of the implementation, you can implement it using some nested logic like this. You have 3 independent entry criteria, and one of those entry criteria you want to constrain, and that is the fragility fracture. For this, you have a concept set, and in that concept set, by using exclusion, you have removed fractures that are obviously traumatic, in other words, not fragility. But you may also want to exclude, it sounds like, any description that may suggest that this fracture, which is captured as a diagnosis of fracture, if at the same time is associated with any of these terminology, the patient is not eligible.
Right.
So you want to, sounds like, create another concept set that says, and please improve it. No, I'm just giving you directional guidance here. Fractures that are obviously traumatic, and then I will remove this. So this becomes your obviously traumatic fracture set definition.
Yeah, we have. I think we have something like that.
Oh, you do have it? Okay.
Yeah. So we have non-osteoporotic fractures, and this is exactly what you just did.
Okay. So then you put that as a concept set in your definition, and then have some temporal relationship.
Gowtham, it is below. It's in the inclusion criteria.
Yeah, we
Oh,
put
yeah.
everything in the inclusion, something like very similar to what you are doing now.
Oh, okay. Then I can delete this.
So this is, yeah. Oh, there may be some confusion here, but this is.
So you're looking for 3, for example, you're saying here, I want at least one fracture in people that are older than 50, and those people need to have, it's criteria number 2. I'm sorry, Gowtham, if you scroll down. Even after the index event. So you're saying, I want for all of the patients at least one criteria, where the first one, 2 diagnoses of osteoporosis. So now you're requiring 3 diagnoses of osteoporosis,
Right.
or having 0. I think it should be not or, but and having 0, because you don't want these patients. That was my assumption. And you don't want to have fragility fractures that are 50. Yeah, so this,
I think
I'm not
this
sure
is inclusion,
block.
right? So this is
Right now
inclusion,
it works,
right? So
right now it works as exclusion, because you're saying or having at least 0, or at least 0. Well, it's not.
It should be 1. Should be 2 actually. Yeah. So it's either having 3 diagnoses or having 2 of the either fragility fracture or medication or diagnosis.
Well, I just wanted to stay here specifically for a bit, the way I'm reading it. you want at least one condition occurrence of fragility fracture, which would be in patients that are more than 50, and they will have also at most 3 codes of any fracture before and after. So let's say they don't have any fractures. And
Well, they
with
definitely have
no,
one, right?
I think the way you're modeling in Atlas is just not the easiest. It might work, but I think conceptually you want 2 of the 3 criteria, correctly? That's all what
Right.
you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay, and none of those 3 criteria is a necessity. So you just want 2 of the 3. It could be any 2 combos.
Right.
There's no scenario where they have to have at least code, or one scenario. None of those 3 is mandatory, correct? Which, if
Correct.
you have one mandatory, it would be much easier. If you're 2 out of 3 is just because then there's multiple scenarios.
Right.
But I suggest the following, because this needs a lot of focus and one to time. One of us will just need to take it and work with you, Chen. One of us,
Okay.
either me or Anna and Gautam, and see the best way to model it. I am thinking of just, yeah, I'm thinking we have to conceptually draw a different logic, which would be the most efficient, and then implement it. Because right now it's very easy to make mistakes within the nesting.
Okay.
And it might be so confusing for everybody. So, Chen, I'll work with you. I'll because I did this logic before, 2 out of 3
Okay.
criteria. I'll just, and I think Patrick helped me think about it differently. So today, like right after the call, we can work on it together.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, let's be in touch in
Yeah, and
person and
I'll take
set a
yours.
time. I won't be able to join later on after the call, so maybe
Yeah.
we'll do it early next week.
Sure. Or if this is what you guys worked on, I can take it. Or Anna, you tried to understand it and you couldn't, right? You got confused.
yeah, but I mean it was slightly different. Now I think now it's changed. Before that, there was you guys were requiring at least 3 fractures, so I was like, okay, this is just not gonna get you any counts. But in this way that it is right now, it may work. So we can look at it more closely. I noticed the drug concept sets that can be a learning opportunity for all of the people on the call to look at together.
This one.
So the medications. How did you go?
Because I made changes to it and it might.
They
fine.
wanted to change that. Now we corrected something.
Yeah, but I had pending changes here on the top.
Okay.
You can just create this having all of the following, got them in the first criteria. This is the only thing that you added.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, you wanted to look at the concept set for the medication?
Mm-hmm. So Chen, how did you guys?
So this is actually there are 4 or 5 different concept sets for specific medications, which is actually the focus of our study. So we can go one by one, but the idea is that for the same ingredient in many of these drugs, there are formulation used for different diseases. And the way to identify the ones that are used for osteoporosis is by the dose that is given by each one of the injections or the pills. So that's why we defined.
But my impression was that you created the cohort of patients with osteoporosis so that you will limit your population to those patients. So then, do you really need to limit it to specific brand names, because you will know that these patients have osteoporosis?
No, and I remember it's one of the 3 criteria, so they might not have a diagnosis.
Oh, so you're using it as your inclusion, as
Right.
one of the criteria in your indication cohort.
Correct.
Well, the very minimum thing is that I see is that you use SPLs, and SPLs will not get you anything, so they're just useless. And then I want to first check with you what you're actually trying to accomplish. So it seems that it's a combination of specific dosages and specific brand names. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So then what you this all of this purples will need to go because they do not add anything.
Well,
And
why is
then
that? I mean, aren't these classification concepts and everything
SPLs,
underneath it?
no, SPLs do not work this way. We don't use SPL for classification.
SPL specifically. Okay.
We use ATC as a classification, which is residronic acid oral. This is fourth string from the bottom.
Interesting, Anna. Why does it look like this then?
Yeah, it looks like
It looks, you should not, we don't know what SPL would get you as a classification. So if you want the drugs under this SPL, you should take these drugs and add them explicitly to your concept
Okay.
set. Do not use SPL as a classification.
So you'll do
SPL is a
something.
dictionary?
Yes.
Okay.
So you'll use the hierarchy, but I mean that's almost true for our classification. You just look at those and you add
But
them.
you see, you don't want to add the first one because what
This one?
you're saying is that you specifically want 4-2. So you want to add, well, the descendants here, they include things that are not 4-2. So this is what I'm saying. Using SPL will not get you what you want. You explicitly said, I want 4-2 with this dosage. The kids are different terms, as you can see.
Okay.
So
Also,
which
no, go ahead. I just was wondering, as a medical oncologist, about the denosumab included there, because it's quite typically administered as a drug to treat lytic metastatic bone lesions associated with, I don't know, breast cancer or whatever.
Right.
So once you introduce the denosumab Prolia, it will not prevent you from including patients with cancer diagnosis. Otherwise, you exclude them, obviously.
Yeah, we'll definitely exclude them specifically when we focus on the drugs. But our impression was that when it's used for cancer treatment, it's either the name is different or the
No, it's it is still Prolia. So
it's still Prolia, but
yeah.
is it also the same concentration of the drug?
Yeah,
right
but
now you're not specifying concentration.
Yeah, so
In your
that's
Okay,
the
so
trick.
we'll have to look
Mhm.
again into this.
Let
Great,
me
thank
suggest
you.
the following. Let me say, so there's two things. There's the content of the medication list that can be improved, but it's also the concept set creation that is meant to represent those lists of medication that you guys started with. So first point for Anna is you might be missing things, or you might be including things that because of using that classification that you're not interested in. So what I would suggest is, remember, this is our first round of the cohort. We're going to run cohort diagnostics and we'll probably iterate on certain things. I think if we confirm your logic about 2 out of the 3 criteria, and then maybe Anna, you can have a quick look. Chen, if you, in your clinical description, you have the list of the drugs you think are specific to osteoporosis?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's in the clinical list.
it's
Yeah.
both each one of these drugs separately, but also the entire.
But each
entire
drug,
group.
you don't mean the ingredient level of the drug. You mean, so like I can think of like there's this guy,
Right.
this guy, and
Yeah.
then this guy and this guy. There's
Yeah,
like
exactly. There's something like 5
certain
different
drugs.
classes.
Got it.
And each one is defined separately, and then we combine everything into this. Well, it could be nice if we combine concept set automatically, but I mean, I'm not sure how to do it, so I just copied everything into here.
Got it. When we created, we created as a list. So this is your list. We have in your clinical description what you meant, what those are 6 items are, and their formulation. And now, would you have time today to just look and see what he might be missing, and what might be? Yeah. And then we can.
I could have done it yesterday even. The reason why I wanted to bring it up is to track the logic specifically, because yeah, I see a mix of things that I didn't think was representing your intent correctly. And specifically, for example, SPL should not be used as a classification. Risidronic acid, which is ATC, MO5, BA07, and that I think is relevant for the broader group. Just based on the code, I know this is, and the way the name is constructed, I know this is an ATC code, which can be used for classification, but then I think what you wanted to capture is that it's just any drug with risidronic acid, in which case you probably should not be using ATC, you should be just using RxNorm ingredient. I'm talking about about the last purple item on the screen. So I would change that to just risidronic acid, because it's not prescribed in injections as far as I know. And if you're the only thing that you actually care about is ingredient, you might as well.
This one is actually oral. This one is actually oral. Not
but
all
I'm
of
saying
them
I don't think this ingredient exists in injections.
So you can see that it doesn't map to risidronic. It looks like risidronic acid is always oral, because you see the parent of it is the ATC4, and it's going to ATC5, and the ATC4 is just the whole class. If it exists in any other way, the parent will be risidronic acid, like without oral, and there will be other. Yeah, well, I meant just
not necessarily, but I just don't think they're. I mean, we can check, but I think
I do believe that the number of bisphosphonates that are administered via injection is quite limited, so not sure that there is that much.
Glenn, I have no idea. Risidronic acid.
I think Anna, that's his only option anyway.
So this is what I'm saying. I think risidronic acid is only prescribed orally, in which case you should be fine with just saying I want all kids of risidronic acid RxNorm ingredient. And
but that's
yes, it is only.
You mean this guy? It's probably
so if you a general thing, if you're looking for any drug with an ingredient, you should be using RxNorm ingredients, not ATC classes. In this case, Chen is saying, well, no, I only want risidronic acid oral, and that's why I picked this ATC code, which is a legitimate thing to say. If you really want a formulation plus ingredient, you could use ATC for this reason. But what I'm saying is that risidronic acid only is manufactured in oral formulation, in which case you can go one level lower and say, just give me all drugs with, and the way you can see it is to pick clinical drug form, well, not here because you're using ATC ASA, but it doesn't matter. And so if risidronic acid is only prescribed in the oral form, you can say, give me just all of the drugs with risidronic acid. And in this case, if somebody mapped to ingredient, you still will capture those patients and you'll be perfectly fine with them, because the only way to manufacture risidronic acid is orally. So there is no reason to over-specify things, because whenever you over-specify things, you lose patients, potentially.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So basically, taking risidronic acid and all its descendants, it's better than risidronic acid oral ATC and all its descendants. Oh, even though I'm a little confused because you're capturing more with the ATC approach. I'm not sure why.
Maybe that is with the ATC approach, sometimes you get the combinations. Are there any combinations?
Evan's name is up.
Well, I mean,
enhanced.
you can certainly address that. I just was curious here if you click on clinical drug form and filter down like after getting the ingredient.
Yeah, so here you should see only oral tablets as
So
we do.
you do get some in combination to Gowtham's point, but this tends to be I think the way we try to converge on finding whether you're looking for systemic IV forms, etc., is to kind of, I don't know, the ATC is probably reliable for that, but looking at clinical drug form kind of gives us a pretty definitive view as to like, how people are exposed to the drug.
Yeah, so here you're having 120,000 and 40.
I think the reason why we're getting smaller numbers here is because we're looking at residronic acid. We would also need to add resedronate because this is how it lives.
Yeah,
How it
so
lives
this
in
is,
us. No,
but
it's not. Yeah, I don't want to go into
okay.
further here. What I'm saying is that the point I was trying to make is that whenever you create concept sets, you should think what actually you want to capture. And as I was saying, in this case, if it seems like it just can be just ingredient, so you can add RxNorm ingredient plus the sentence. Now, if you want combinations or not, that's a very good question. If you don't want combinations, then you will need to do more because both ATC and RxNorm approach will pull in combinations. So if you want monotherapy, you would need to go to the clinical drug form level. So I will match this concept set with your description, and I will go in through that. But based on Chen, what you described, the only questions that I had were related to the classificational terms. Others sort of match your intent.
Okay. And how do you know which classification dictionaries are actually valid and which are not?
ATC is valid. But there are rules with ATC, there are rules that you would use when using ATC. For example, if you're interested in ingredient, use RxNorm. If you want to look up ingredients of a certain class, use ATC, but then jump on the ingredients and use ingredients as your starting point. So the way you would use ATC varies depending on what you want to get.
Okay. Thank you.
And like specifically, for example, here, you may think, okay, it says residronic acid oral, so the only things that I'll be getting will be just mono drug of residronic acid. But that's actually not correct because the combinations will get pulled in. So this is where using RxNorm is more explicit in terms of what you're going to get, because you know that if you're selecting residronic acid oral tablet plus descendants, you're only getting oral tablets monodrug.
Okay.
And Chen, is to call out to the group, this whole relationship between ATC and RxNorm is a genius work of our vocabulary team in the Odyssey. And we have to appreciate, like Anna has led a lot of this effort, Tatiana, Vlad. Without them, their work, even this conversation would not be feasible.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I mean,
I'm so confused about this though. It's weird that I've never seen that, like the ingredients is anyways, okay.
What's wrong, Kaza?
I'm just surprised at difference in the
residronic.
Okay, never mind. But yes, the vocabulary.
Residronic acid is one of the ingredients. Resedronate is another ingredient. So if you remove residronic from your filter,
but
in the text filter,
got it. But is the intent?
One more. There, that's in.
Now you see residronate. There are two ingredients in RxNorm that represent residronic acid.
Okay, and Chen, in your case, you are interested in both?
Yes.
Okay, so the right approach here, just to finish the loop, is to take residronate, all its as an ingredient, all its descendant, and residronic acid as its descendant and all its descendant. Correct?
If we also want to capture combination therapies. So for example, Aza, what you can do here right now is in the class, filter to
Yeah.
clinical drug form. And you would see, because I also heard that we may want just the monotherapy. You will see that we have risedronate oral tablet, which is the main drug that the patients have. Then risedronate delayed release oral tablet, risedronic acid delayed release. So here you can actually hear it's pretty nice in the way that it only has mono drugs. But if you wanted combination drugs, for example, risedronate plus calcium or risedronate plus vitamin D, which exist in the vocabulary, you're not getting them right now. You're only getting monotherapies.
Got it. Okay. So for Chen, next step is, and now you're gonna check the medication and modify this. We're gonna use this cohort, and I will work on the logic and implement the intention of 2 out of the 3 entry criteria in an efficient way and way that you can read it slowly.
So just to make sure we are on the same page, there are 2 different core definitions. This one is actually either you have 3 diagnoses or you have 2 of the 3. There is a simpler one which just requires 2 of the 3. So maybe it's better to start with the other one.
Okay, so this is actually 6 scenarios. So you can either have 3 diagnoses or 2 or 2 or more of these. So it's like this can lead to 6 combination, and this was like 7 different ways.
So what?
Yeah.
Oh, why?
So basically, not 7. Sorry. So you have 3 possibles. You want 2 out of the 3. So that's 3.
Yeah, single events,
then,
2 out of 3, or 3 events of diagnosis code.
Got it. Okay, and then the other. So we'll implement this. The other way is what is the other way?
The other way is just 2 of the 3.
2 of the. Okay, so one is a subset of the other. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have implemented the one.
Yeah, I just review it now and make sure it's because I think there is a small mistake here, so I'll correct it and then it's used to review and.
Okay, and Chen, can you put it in the tracker so I show?
Yeah, it is in the tracker.
Okay.
It's in the tracker.
Perfect. Okay.
Chen, before you leave, please make sure that we didn't make a mistake by modifying this on the fly, because we did some changes and saved it. But you need to look at it and make sure it's right.
Okay. So did you change also the concept sets, because I saw you also playing with this?
We didn't. No, I didn't save anything.
Okay.
I didn't touch it. We didn't save it. Okay. So I will work on this one because it's includes the other scenario, and then I will edit the other scenario if we need it. And Anna, also work on this so we can swap the concept set later if you ended up changing. Okay.
I think it's generally it's good. We will only remove SPLs just to close the loop. We would remove SPLs because we don't use them as classification, and we would clarify with Chen if he wants risedronic acid combination drugs. And there's really the 2 things that caught my attention. Otherwise, it matches nicely with what you guys wanted to look at.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chen. Okay.
Hope we're not making it more confusing for you.
I promise you, once we run Cohort Diagnostic, there will be more changes. That's the nature of things.
There is also.
Anybody else? We got 5 more minutes. Anna, how do you want to use the last 4 minutes of the call? Is there any specific action?
I mean, people will mark the cohort definitions that are done. I've never used WebAPI, which is not. This is something we will just talk offline. but at the end of the day, we will grab the cohorts that are ready and we will run the cohort diagnostics over the weekend.
Anna, we can't really use it to run it internally. We will have to create the cohort in J&J.
Okay.
Like when Gowtham
You
and I
know
used
that?
to run it. Yeah. So the first we'll talk.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
talk.
we will talk about that.
Yeah, but an easy way could be I'll just create a characterization that includes all the cohort IDs in this list, pull that into our J&J atlas, and then you can run cohort diagnostics.
we can talk about it separately. Well, I know there are also Vlad and Tatiana on the call, but we talked and Oleg, and we talked separately about things already. So
But are you guys good for the Friday run?
Yes, I think we're good, but just we have too many cohorts, and it will be only the first pack submitted today, so we'll probably come for the next round.
which is perfectly fine.
You lack confidence, young Jedi.
Well, you know, the what I found to be useful is a very basic thing, is just look at the, so you created this your next cohort, and these cohorts tend to be very specific from what I saw. People have multiple criteria, inclusion, exclusion, complex logic. The very easy thing to have a even base understanding of whether your definition is good is just to look at counts. And what we saw is that people came up with these definitions and they're all yielding very small counts compared to what you would expect, you know? So that already tells you right away that you would need to do something different. And the breakdown of impact of criteria in Atlas actually also tells you the impact of each criteria that you have. And that alone is very useful.
And where are you doing that? In Atlas demo?
Well, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
I was doing it on the internal atlas.
Yeah.
So we, for example, looked at Bogdan's study with melanoma that was getting 56 patients, which already tells you, no, not gonna fly. Or yesterday we looked at Tatiana's cohort that yielded 1,500 patients when we expected much more. So that already at least made me think. I'm not sure it made her think. Well, I don't know how she reacted to it. But I was like, oh, these counts seem low.
Yeah, I did the same for Cindy, and then we played with things until we got like reasonable. But you can't. But for people who don't have access to data sources, you really can't do that in demo Atlas. The Atlas demo doesn't have. So if you see zeros when you try to generate, that doesn't mean anything. That's just because there's no real data behind it.
Yeah.
Fake
Yeah.
data.
But I guess what I'm saying is that the next time we do it, there can be an intermediate step of let's not run the core diagnostics yet. Let's just get counts.
Yeah.
As a first step.
Yeah. Anybody else who
Significant roadblock.
who's doing this, working on their cohort, and they actually don't know how they're don't have cohorts to go to the next steps at all. And any other studies that we don't have any tracker on? So we still have Asia.
Yeah, Asia and Chen, the other Chen, not you, Chen, but the other Chen who's not on the call.
That's why you kept saying Chen. Like, Chen is good. I have some cohorts.
The other Chen, and with A, not with E. And then and then Changsu. We have not heard from them, but then all of them are experienced. And all of them have already run network studies and have been doing phenotyping. So I'm not worried about them. If they don't feel that they need help, I'm sure they will be capable of, like,
Got it.
Changsu and the other Chen, they do not even need us for cohort diagnostics because they have data and they have run cohort diagnostics previously, so they can do it themselves.
And they're using legend definitions for.
Lots of them are legend. definitions.
So do you think we should add the legend definition?
There,
I
there,
actually am impressed how if they're gonna use US data sources, how are they looking at obesity? Like, we actually have never figured this out. I don't know how they're doing their outcome.
that
They-
we don't know yet too. I think Chang Su created the clinical descriptions, but I don't know if he's moving on with the phenotypes. He, as I said, never reached out back to us. His phenotype is in this tracker. So if you change the lead, if you go to filtering to lead, and you click on, for example, Chang Su before Cindy, no, before Cindy, you would see that his obesity is on the tracker. Row number 91.
Yeah, but we don't have a cohort ID.
We do not, because again, they're not working on this tracker. So we added their studies, but we haven't heard from them.
Yeah, okay, I'll talk to Patrick. It's fine. He's the one who's experienced and have data and everything, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't want to be in a scenario where a month from now they're like, oh, we actually never looked at how this runs in
Yeah,
US.
but this is their study. If they don't want to look at it, they don't have to.
Okay. I see Oleg.
Yeah, final question from me. Could you please remind me of a name pattern for the cohorts?
PP25, then the name of your study abbreviated within the square brackets, and then the name of your cohort. I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, Aza, so we could reach out again, but we so far they've been just doing other things, so maybe they're busy now. Who knows? Name of study, name of cohort.
Sorry,
And
just
again,
so I have that clear, that last point. You guys want that as a square brackets in front of all the cohorts we build, or does it suffice to have the links? Okay.
So there it is. Name of this. Now put that in the chat.
Okay.
In square brackets, PP25, Phenotype February 25, space, name of the study, abbreviated. Don't put the full study because then it won't. Something like Oleg's trace set, that's perfect. And then name of the cohort, which would be a meaningful name without special characters and not too long.
Yeah, I figured it out. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're good. I'm gonna go scratch my head for the 2 out of 3 or at least 3 logics. That's a very
Sounds
nice.
good.
That's a fun challenge.
I need to go to.
That's a good activity on Valentine's Day, Asa. Sure. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's. Thank you.